Hi, I'm Dr. Steve Rittner of the Rittners Floral School in Boston, Mass. It's a pleasure to welcome you into one of our classrooms today. The time? Well, it's near St. Patrick's Day here in Boston. And St. Patrick's Day is a big holiday here. And you don't have to be Irish to enjoy it. The whole community joins in. And what we thought it would be kind of fun to do today is to present to you an inspirational video where we're showing a number of different ideas in water-based designs for St. Patrick's Day. So we hope, my viewer, that you really enjoy this video and have a great time watching it, and it gives you some ideas that you can do in your St. Patrick's Day designing. To start with, how can we make St. Patrick's Day designs feel a little bit different, a little bit unusual from the standard kind of thing? Well, there are a number of different ways we can do it, and we hope to show some of these in this video. The first design you see here, it's a very, very pretty design. It looks like a typical design done in a water-based in glass. And it is. It's in a nice carafe. We've got some interesting things here. We've got some of our lilies in place here, white lilies, white roses. We have a lime green rose or two worked in here, some lime green miniature carnations, lots and lots of our wax flower in white, and a few of our green palms. It's a lovely design. But we're doing something interesting in this design that is a little bit different that I think you might find useful and enjoyable in terms of doing some of your work. We found a great tool that we've been playing with here at Rittners. If you look really, really close up, you see all of these green little beads? These green little beads? Well, these are called deco beads. Deco beads. It's a product that we've just started to play with in some of our classes. It's really, really a cool product. It's very, very neat, and it comes in a variety of colors. Here, for example, is one that's blue. Here's another one that's purple. Here's another one that's pink. And of course, for St. Patrick's Day, we've been playing with, and you'll see this in this video, some green ones. It's a cool product. It's stuff that you put water in, you let it sit for a while. The little deco beads pull up the water, and it becomes a kind of a nice media that we can do. We can place these in here, place plenty of water in so our flowers are still getting water. And it gives the effect of the green, yet at the same time our flowers are still getting water, and it gives a very, very pretty design. So this is one way that we can take what would normally be a traditional kind of design and play with a little bit to come up with an interesting effect. But what else can we do in terms of St. Patrick's to come up with different effects for our designing? Well, here's another design. This one's really cool. It's a cute little design. We've used a cylinder container here, and you'll notice that we've got here some of our curly willow in through the cylinder container. And again, in terms of the top of the container, this is done in a rather tight style. We're using some of our lime green roses, some of our white roses worked in here. Notice the daffodils. You may wonder, well, why are you using daffodils? We've got a few daffodils here and a lot of daffodil stems. Well, the reason is these daffodils have come in from Ireland. We got them in our local markets. They've just come in from Ireland. They're absolutely beautiful. They're gorgeous. And we thought it would make kind of a nice, interesting counterpoint to our greens and whites to work some actual Irish daffodils into our design. We've used some of the daffodil stems to create like a focal point here in the center, which gives an interesting effect. So again, a very different kind of treatment than the standard kind of thing because of the way we're handling our materials. What else do we have? What else can we do to come up? Well, our staff has been working very, very hard, my viewer, to come up with some different and interesting approaches to some of our St. Patrick's Day designing in water. This is another design in water, again making use of the deco beads. If we look very, very closely, you'll see the deco beads on the top there, water down below. It also is making use of a combination of things. Some of our Fujis, the green Fujis, placed one in the center facing towards you, one facing away, one here, some of our white and also our lime green roses, very subtle, a few of the Irish daffodils worked in here, a touch of our wax flower. It is a very, very classical kind of shape because it's round, but what makes it feel different and unusual is the container, because we're not using a standard kind of container. We're using something that is kind of like a pyramid, and because we're using a pyramid on this, a glass pyramid, it feels different. So sometimes, my viewer, by going away from the standard carafe kind of container and going to something that is either a small cylinder or even a pyramid, you can come up with some really, really cool effects in terms of your designing. And I think that this is a good case in point. It gives a very, very interesting. Notice we can look at it straight on like this, or we can also angle it, and that also gives an interesting effect too in terms of our design. So, some of you, we've played with 3 ideas. Let's show you another way that you can take some of your water-based designing for St. Patrick's Day and come up with something that might be a little bit different. Again, we're starting with the classical concept here of a round design, but there are some interesting kinks on this one too. This design is kind of round, although we're extending it out a little bit on either side with some of our baker fern. It is making use of our green and white, which we would typically associate with this holiday. If you look very, very carefully, you'll see Fujis, you'll see some white carnations, some of our white roses, some green, lime green miniature carnations. The thing I love about these lime green miniature carnations is they're a natural color. They haven't been tinted. And we also have some of our green palms here. But what makes this one interesting is the use of some of the bamboo. Taking the concept that we showed you in the earlier design of taking some of our stems, but instead of having the daffodil stems here, we're taking some cut pieces of our bamboo and then just shooting it out in different directions. Once again, it's one way that you can take a classical idea, change it, modify it, and come up with something rather interesting. Notice also some stems that we have here that are all tied together, woven through the design, little pieces of carnation stem woven with some of our green wire adds a nice accent to the piece. Okay, so let's see, my viewer, what other things can we come up with? Well, when we're trying to come up with different ideas for St. Patrick's Day, we can also go rather wild and kinky in terms of our expression. Here we happen to have an oval-shaped piece of glassware, and you'll notice that we've got in the oval-shaped container a variety of different things. We've got some of our Fujis down here low. We've got some of our lilies here, and here. Very, very quick and easy to make this kind of thing. Just drop a few flowers in here, drop a few in the back, and then finally taking some of our curly willow, which is coming in greens as well as the browns, and working some of the curly willow to create added shape and to add a little texture to it. This extends the size of our design out, makes it feel a lot more contemporary in feeling, and gives a really, really interesting effect to this St. Patrick's Day design. So you notice we're doing designing in water, but our designing in water here is a little bit more off the beaten path, not as traditional as you may have thought. How about this idea? Okay, a beer container, but notice what we've got here. We've got some of our deco beads in here. We also have some of our plastic materials. We call it kryptonite. It's plastic. It's kind of like marbles in there. We've got water, some cedar, and then a few of our Fujis in the green color to come up with a non-alcoholic beverage, a novelty kind of design for St. Patrick's Day. Quick, easy, and fun to do. And then, how about this? Another example of coming up with something rather interesting for the holiday. In this particular case, we do have a rectangular container. We're making use of the deco beads. It gives an interesting effect here because it almost looks ghost-like here because we used a little fewer of them. And then a combination, only a few roses here, 3 roses in our piece, but then mixing it in with our curly willow and deliberately curving the curly willow in different directions so that it gives a kind of a curve and an interesting effect. Gives a very, very contemporary St. Patrick's Day piece. Finally, to conclude our examination of different designs in water for St. Patrick's Day, how about this? Why can't we just simply go romantic with a little piece of, a couple of pieces rather, of hydrangea, a few of our roses, some waxflower, and just for contrast, lavender roses. So we have a little romantic posy for the holiday. Well, my viewer, we've covered a lot of ground in a short period of time. I do hope that you enjoyed this brief exploration into designs with water for the St. Patrick's Day holiday. On behalf of all of us here at Rittner Floral School, I'm Dr. Steve Rittner. Thank you for coming in, and visiting with us today.